The signal appeared on the Viridian scout ship's sensors like a small flame in darkness. Captain Zrax narrowed his yellow eyes and clicked his sharp teeth together. In all his cycles as a hunter, he had never seen such strange energy patterns. "Life signs confirmed," said his second-in-command. "Unknown species in this sector." The Viridians had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 cycles. Their bodies were perfect hunting machines, fast, strong, with claws that could tear through metal, and senses sharper than any prey. They collected species across the stars, sometimes as slaves, sometimes as food, but always as lesser beings. 200 light-years away, Captain Frank Miller of the Earth Defense Force vessel Intrepid sipped his coffee and watched the stars through the main viewport. It was supposed to be a routine patrol of the outer colonies. Humanity had spread to 12 planets now, still new to the galaxy, but growing quickly. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Officer Kate Wilson from her console. "Looks like an artificial signal, but it doesn't match any known human patterns." Frank set down his cup. "Show me." The holographic display lit up with a ship design no human had ever seen. It looked almost organic, with curves like muscle and bone, rather than the clean lines of human engineering. "First contact," Frank whispered. "Alert Earth Command. All stations on standby." On the small mining outpost of New Horizon, the day began like any other. The 57 miners and engineers went about their work, extracting valuable minerals from the planetoid's core. None of them noticed the sleek, predatory shape that entered orbit. The Viridian scout ship's captain had made his decision. This small settlement would make good practice before they assessed the main species. The ship descended through the thin atmosphere, landing half a mile from the human outpost. "Remember," Zrax told his hunting party, "we take 1 or 2 specimens alive. Learn their weaknesses. The rest can be sport." The 6 Viridians moved across the rocky ground with perfect silence. Each stood 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in scales that shifted color to match their surroundings. Their long arms ended in claws that could slice through steel. At the outpost, alarms suddenly blared. Security Officer Diane Martinez grabbed her rifle and ran to the perimeter fence. Through her binoculars, she saw nothing at first. Then a patch of rocks seemed to move. "We have intruders," she reported. "I can't make them out clearly. They're camouflaged somehow." The outpost director ordered everyone inside the main building. They had practiced for pirate raids, but this felt different. The first Viridian reached the fence and leaped over the 10-foot barrier like it was nothing. It had expected screaming, panic, the usual reaction of prey. Instead, it heard the crack of a rifle and felt burning pain in its shoulder. Diane had fired the first shot in humanity's introduction to Galactic society. The wounded Viridian roared in surprise more than pain. Its companions abandoned stealth and charged forward. They had never needed to hide from prey before. Why would they? They were the most dangerous things in the galaxy. But the humans didn't run. The miners had grabbed whatever weapons they could find. Rifles, mining tools, even kitchen knives. They formed a defensive line around their habitat dome. The Viridians tore through the first defenders easily. Their claws sliced through body armor like paper, but the humans kept fighting back. They didn't break or scatter as prey should. Lieutenant Diane Martinez found herself face to face with a Viridian. It towered over her, hissing with pleasure at what it thought would be an easy kill. It slashed at her chest. She ducked and fired her rifle from point-blank range into its throat. The alien hunter fell, gurgling its last breath. Its companions froze in shock. No prey had ever killed a Viridian in direct combat. Taking advantage of their hesitation, the remaining humans unleashed everything they had. 2 more Viridians fell. Captain Zrax ordered a retreat. This was not going as planned. These creatures, these humans, did not act like proper prey. They weren't the strongest or fastest species they'd encountered, but they fought differently. They worked together. They used tools. They didn't give up. As the scout ship lifted off, Zrax knew the High Command would find this information very interesting. Perhaps they had finally found worthy prey. Back at the outpost, the humans counted their dead and tended their wounded. They had no idea they had just impressed the galaxy's most feared predators. Grand Hunter Kazak stood motionless as he watched the recording for the third time. 3 dead Viridian warriors, killed by creatures half their size, with no natural weapons to speak of. It was almost unbelievable. "Play it again," he ordered. His massive frame towered over the other Viridians in the command center. As leader of the hunting fleets, he had personally killed prey from over 200 different species. None had ever interested him like these humans. The recording showed a small female human facing a full-grown Viridian warrior. She moved with surprising speed, avoided its claws, and used her weapon with deadly skill. This was not mere luck. This was training. "What do we know about their home planet?" Kazak asked. "It is called Earth," his intelligence officer replied. "We have intercepted their communications. They are young in space travel, only reaching beyond their solar system in the last 50 years. Kazak's eyes narrowed. "Send more observers. I want to know everything about how they fight." On Earth, in the underground headquarters of the Earth Defense Force, Admiral Cynthia Rogers paced back and forth. The attack on New Horizon had cost 12 human lives, but it had given them something valuable: knowledge that they were not alone, and that the galaxy was more dangerous than they had imagined. "The aliens moved like nothing I've ever seen," said Lieutenant Diane Martinez, still recovering from her wounds. "Like they were born to hunt, but they seemed surprised when we fought back." Admiral Rogers nodded. "We need to prepare for more contact, and it probably won't be friendly." She turned to her assistant. "Get me John Peterson." John Peterson was training new recruits when he got the call. At 45 years old, he had served in every major conflict on Earth for the past 20 years. He was not tall or particularly muscular, but other soldiers spoke his name with respect. He had survived situations that had killed stronger men. "We have video of the aliens," Admiral Rogers told him when he arrived at headquarters. "I need you to study their movements, their tactics, find their weaknesses." Peterson watched the footage carefully. They rely on natural weapons, claws, teeth. They're strong and fast, but they don't seem to use much strategy. They attack head-on, like they're used to being the strongest thing around. "Can we beat them?" the Admiral asked. Peterson thought for a moment. "They're physically superior, no doubt. But they might not understand something we've been doing for thousands of years: adapting, planning, working as teams. They fight like lone predators. We fight like wolves." While humans prepared, the Viridians learned. Their spy drones captured human television, radio, and internet signals. They watched human movies about war, studied human history books, and observed military bases from orbit. "They kill each other constantly," said the Viridian intelligence officer, showing Kazakh footage of a human military training exercise. "They practice warfare against their own kind." Kazakh watched with growing fascination as human soldiers ran through combat drills, repeating the same movements over and over. "What are they doing?" he asked. "Our scientists believe they call it practice," the officer replied. "They repeat actions to improve their skills. They do not rely solely on instinct like we do." This concept was foreign to Viridians. Their hunting skills were natural, passed down through perfect genetics. The idea of improving through repetition, rather than being born perfect, was strange. A Viridian scout ship silently landed on the dark side of Earth's moon. From there, a small stealth craft carried a single observer to the planet's surface. The observer was the best in the fleet, able to blend into any environment. The observer watched from the trees as human soldiers trained. They lifted heavy objects to strengthen their bodies. They fired their weapons at targets again and again. They practiced fighting in groups, using signals and plans. When the observer reported back to Kazakh, its message was simple: "These humans are not just prey. They make themselves into hunters." Kazakh made his decision. These humans would not be simply conquered like other species. They deserved the honor of a formal hunt. The ancient traditions demanded it for worthy prey. "Prepare a hunting party," he ordered, "and send a message to their leaders. Let us see if these humans can provide us with true sport." The message from the Viridians appeared on every screen across Earth at the same time. Their translation was rough but clear. "We challenge you to the hunt. Send your best warriors. If they survive, we will respect your territory. If they fail, you belong to the Viridian Empire." In the main conference room of Earth Defense Headquarters, silence fell as the aliens' message ended. Admiral Rogers looked at the faces around the table: military commanders, scientists, and government officials. "What exactly is this hunt?" asked the Secretary of Defense. Dr. Linda Crawford, the lead xenobiologist, cleared her throat. "Based on the data we've gathered, it's a ritual combat. The Viridians consider themselves the ultimate predators. When they find a species they deem worthy, they offer this challenge before full conquest." "Can we refuse?" someone asked. "I believe that would trigger an immediate invasion," Dr. Crawford said. "They would see it as confirming we are merely prey, not worthy of respect." Admiral Rogers turned to John Peterson. "What are our chances in this hunt?" Peterson had spent days studying the limited information they had on Viridian physiology and tactics. "They're stronger and faster than us. Their senses are sharper. Their claws can tear through metal. But they hunt like tigers, not humans. They rely on natural weapons and instinct." "And we don't," said Rogers. "No. We use tools, strategy, teamwork. Things they might not expect." Peterson leaned forward. "I'll need to pick my team carefully." The next day, Peterson began selecting his team. Olivia Washington was his first choice, the best sniper in the force with over 50 confirmed kills in the African conflict. Next was Greg Martinez, a tactical genius who could read terrain like others read books. Finally, Steve Russell, who had survived alone in the Amazon jungle for 6 months after a mission went wrong. "We're going to be hunted by 7-foot aliens with claws that can cut through steel," Peterson told them bluntly. "Our job is to survive and show these Viridians that humans aren't easy prey." "What are the rules?" asked Martinez. "That's the first thing we need to find out," Peterson replied. When the humans sent their response accepting the challenge but requesting terms and conditions, the Viridians were confused. In their long history of conquest, no species had ever tried to negotiate the rules of a hunt. They wished to know what weapons are permitted, a junior officer reported to Kazakh. They ask about the duration of the hunt, the boundaries of the hunting grounds, and what constitutes victory. Kazakh found these questions strange. In Viridian culture, a hunt had no formal rules. The hunter used their natural abilities. The prey tried to survive. It was simple. Tell them they may bring whatever they wish. Kazakh finally decided. The hunt will last until either all humans are dead or they have survived for 5 of their days. The hunting ground will be the moon they call Cygnus 4. Cygnus 4 was chosen for its similarity to the Viridian homeworld: dense jungles, high gravity, and dangerous natural predators. It would give the Viridians every advantage. 2 weeks later, the human team arrived at Cygnus 4 aboard a small military transport. Through the viewport, they could see the much larger Viridian vessel already in orbit. Peterson led his team through final equipment checks. Each human carried a different set of weapons and tools. Washington had her sniper rifle plus a sidearm. Martinez carried devices to set traps and monitor movement. Russell had survival gear and close combat weapons. Peterson himself carried a standard assault rifle and command equipment. From their ship, the Viridians watched with curiosity and confusion. Their lead hunter, Sub-Hunter Vrax, observed the humans through magnification lenses. "They bring many artificial tools," he noted with disdain. "True hunters rely on their bodies, not devices." Kazakh, watching from the command ship, was not so quick to judge. These humans evolved differently. Their bodies are weak, so they made themselves strong through other means. Do not underestimate them. As both ships landed on opposite sides of a vast jungle plain, the humans and Viridians prepared for the most unusual contest either species had ever experienced. Remember, Peterson told his team as they prepared to disembark, they expect us to act like prey. Our advantage is that we know how to be predators too. The jungle of Cygnus 4 was thick with strange plants and unfamiliar sounds. The air was heavy and warm, filled with smells that reminded Peterson of Earth's tropical regions, but with something alien mixed in. His team had been on the planet for less than an hour, and already their clothes were soaked with sweat. A long, howling cry echoed through the trees. The humans looked at each other. The hunt had begun. "Remember the plan," Peterson said quietly. "We split up. 4 targets are harder to track than one group." Martinez checked his tracking device. "The signal says the Viridian ship landed 5 miles north. They'll be coming from that direction." "Good," Peterson nodded. "Washington, get to high ground. Find a position where you can see as much jungle as possible. Russell, set up the first layer of traps along these coordinates. Martinez, you're with me. We'll lay a false trail east, then double back." The team separated, each moving with purpose. They had trained for this mission for 2 weeks, studying everything they knew about Viridian hunting tactics. Sub-Hunter Vrax led his hunting party through the dense jungle. There were 6 Viridian hunters in total, each a veteran of countless hunts across the galaxy. They moved silently, their scaled skin shifting colors to blend with the foliage. "Remember," Vrax told his hunters, "Grand Hunter Kazakh wants at least 1 human captured alive. The rest are yours to kill as you wish." The Viridians spread out in a wide fan formation, expecting to drive the humans before them like frightened prey animals. They anticipated the humans would group together for protection, making them easier to find. What they didn't expect was for the humans to be completely missing from where their scanners had shown them landing. "They've scattered," growled one hunter in surprise. "Prey usually stays together." Vrax flicked his tongue, tasting the air. "Separate and find them. They cannot hide for long." High in a massive tree, Olivia Washington settled into position. The Special Forces sniper had climbed nearly 100 feet up, giving her a view across a wide section of jungle canopy. She carefully assembled her rifle, a high-powered weapon with a scope that could see heat signatures. Through her scope, she spotted a Viridian moving through the trees nearly a mile away. The alien predator was stalking something, likely Martinez and Peterson, who were deliberately leaving signs of their passage. Washington steadied her breathing. The shot would be difficult, long distance, through jungle canopy, at a moving target. But this was why she had been chosen. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle made a soft sound, nothing like the loud crack of older weapons. A mile away, the Viridian hunter collapsed without ever knowing what hit it. In the Viridian command ship, Kazakh watched the video feed from his hunters with growing concern. One hunter's signal had just gone dark. "What happened?" he demanded. "Unknown," said the officer monitoring the feeds. "The signal simply stopped. No alarm, no sign of struggle." Kazakh had never seen a hunter killed so quickly during a hunt. Something was wrong. On the ground, Peterson and Martinez heard the soft snap of a branch breaking. They exchanged glances. They had deliberately made that noise by triggering a small trap. "One's following us," Martinez whispered. Peterson nodded. "Time for phase 2. Instead of running away from the sound, they circled around. The Viridian hunter, expecting to be stalking frightened prey, suddenly found itself caught between 2 humans who were moving with purpose toward it, not away. Before the Viridian could adjust to this unexpected behavior, Martinez threw a small device that landed at its feet. The device exploded in a blinding flash of light and sound, overwhelming the alien's sensitive eyes and ears. Peterson didn't hesitate. 3 quick shots from his rifle, and the second Viridian fell. On the other side of the jungle, Steve Russell had been busy creating a series of simple but effective traps. When a Viridian stepped on a hidden pressure plate, a sharpened log swung down from the trees, impaling the hunter through its chest. By nightfall, 3 Viridians had been eliminated. The hunters had not even caught sight of a human except in the final moments before death. In the command ship, Kazakh stared at the screens in disbelief. Half his hunting party was dead, and not a single human had been captured. "These are not normal prey," he said quietly. "They are hunting us." Vrax knelt beside the body of his fallen hunter. The clean hole through its head showed the work of a skilled marksman. No prey species had ever killed Viridians at range before. They usually lacked either the technology or the skill. "Report to Grand Hunter Kazakh," Vrax said to his remaining hunters. "The humans are not behaving as expected. They are using distance weapons and traps. They do not run." In the command ship, Kazakh received the report with growing interest. "Tell Vrax to adapt. If they will not act as prey, then treat them as rival predators." This was a new concept for the Viridians. In all their history of conquest, they had never faced a species that turned the hunt around. They were always the hunters, never the hunted. "And send them the hunting drones," Kazakh added. "If these humans want to use tools, we will show them our technology." As dawn broke on the second day of the hunt, Peterson and his team met at a small cave they had found and marked as their base. 3 down, 3 to go," Peterson said, plus their leader. "Good work yesterday." "They'll change tactics today," Martins warned. "They know we're not running away. They'll be more careful." Russell nodded. "I set up more traps around this area. Different types this time." Washington checked her rifle. "I spotted their ship using thermal imaging. They're bringing something out. Looks like small flying machines." Peterson frowned. "Drones. They're adapting faster than I expected. We need to change our plan too." The team quickly developed a new strategy. They would use the dense jungle canopy to hide from aerial surveillance. Washington would focus on destroying the drones rather than hunting Viridians. Martins and Russell would work together to set up more elaborate traps, while Peterson would act as bait. High above the jungle, small Viridian hunting drones spread out in a search pattern. They were primarily used for tracking prey on difficult worlds, but Vrax had decided these humans required special measures. One drone detected heat signatures and descended for a closer look. It found Peterson walking alone through a small clearing. The drone relayed the information back to the hunters. 2 Viridians moved quickly toward Peterson's position. They were more cautious now, watching for traps and staying in the shadows. They had learned from their fallen comrades' mistakes. Peterson knew he was being followed. That was the plan. He led the Viridians on a careful path through the jungle, making sure they could track him, but never getting close enough for them to attack. Meanwhile, Martins and Russell were setting up their most complex trap yet. They had found a natural ravine and enhanced it, creating a killing zone that would be nearly impossible to escape. Peterson led the pursuing Viridians straight toward it. When he reached the edge of the ravine, he appeared to stumble and fall, sliding down into the depression. The Viridians saw their chance and moved in quickly. As soon as they entered the ravine, Martinez triggered the trap. Explosives that Russell had set blasted the sides of the ravine, creating a landslide that buried one Viridian completely. The second hunter leaped clear of the falling rocks, but landed right in front of Martinez, who was waiting with a special weapon designed to penetrate Viridian scales. The hunter died quickly, its yellow eyes wide with surprise at being outsmarted. Meanwhile, Washington was dealing with the drones. Each time one came close to discovering her teammates' positions, she would take it out with a precise shot. The Viridians kept losing eyes in the sky and couldn't understand how. By midday, 2 more hunters were dead, and half the drones were destroyed. Only Vrax and 1 other hunter remained. In the command ship, Kazakh watched with growing respect and concern. These humans were not just surviving. They were winning. "These creatures," he said to his officers, "they compensate for their physical weaknesses with planning and tools. They think differently than any species we have hunted." One officer suggested sending reinforcements, but Kazakh shook his head. No, the hunt must proceed according to tradition. But send word to the fleet. If these humans can challenge our best hunters, they might be more dangerous than we thought. As night fell on the second day, the score stood at 5 Viridians eliminated, half their drones destroyed, and still not a single human casualty. Vrax paced back and forth in the small clearing. 5 of his hunters were dead. Most of their drones were destroyed. He had never failed in a hunt before, and the shame burned inside him like fire. This ends now, he growled to his last remaining hunter. No more hunting one by one. We attack together. We find their base and strike with everything we have. This decision broke thousands of years of Viridian hunting tradition. Hunts were meant to be tests of individual skill, not group assaults. But Vrax could not accept defeat. On the human ship in orbit, Dr. Linda Crawford monitored communications between the planet and the Viridian command ship. Her translation software had improved enough to understand some of their language. Peterson, be alert, she radioed down to the team. I'm picking up increased communications. They're planning something different. Peterson gathered his team at their cave base. We've pushed them into a corner. They'll be desperate now. Good, said Washington with a small smile. Desperate enemies make mistakes. Russell wasn't so sure. Desperate enemies are also dangerous. They might not follow their own rules anymore. Peterson nodded. We need to prepare for an all-out attack, not hit and run like before. The team quickly set up defensive positions around their cave. Martins placed the last of their explosives at key approach points. Washington found a high ridge with clear sightlines to the likely attack routes. Russell prepared the cave itself with several nasty surprises for any Viridian that got too close. As the third day dawned, Vrax and his remaining hunter gathered all their remaining weapons and equipment. In addition to their natural claws and teeth, they now carried energy weapons normally reserved for ship defense. Find them. Vrax ordered the last functional drones, no matter where they hide. One drone finally located a heat signature near a cave system. It transmitted the location before Washington could shoot it down. They're coming, Peterson warned his team. Everyone in position. Vrax and his hunter moved through the jungle with new purpose. They no longer stalked like predators. They charged forward like warriors, cutting through the dense vegetation with energy weapons. They triggered 2 of Martinez's traps, but kept moving through the explosions, their tough scales protecting them from the worst of the damage. Washington fired from her ridge position, hitting the second hunter in the shoulder. The wound would have killed most creatures. But the Viridian kept coming. These predators were not only strong, they were incredibly hard to kill. Martinez detonated his final explosive as the Viridians reached the clearing in front of the cave. The blast knocked both aliens off their feet, but they quickly recovered. Vrax fired his energy weapon at the ridge where Washington was positioned, causing a rock slide that forced her to abandon her post. Peterson fired from the cave entrance, but Vrax was already moving, faster than any human could track. The Viridian leader reached the cave and slashed at Peterson with his claws. Peterson fell back, blood streaming from a wound across his chest. Russell leaped from his hiding spot and drove a metal spear into the back of the second hunter, finally bringing it down. But now he found himself face to face with Vrax, the most dangerous hunter in the Viridian fleet. Vrax grabbed Russell by the throat and lifted him off the ground. You fight well for prey, the Viridian hissed, but you are still prey. Instead of killing Russell immediately, Vrax carried him deeper into the cave. The Viridian wanted answers. He wanted to understand how these physically weak creatures had managed to kill his best hunters. How? Vrax demanded, throwing Russell against the cave wall. How do you fight so effectively? Your bodies are soft. Your claws are non-existent. Your senses are dull. Russell coughed, trying to catch his breath. We've been fighting all our lives, he managed to say. Not just other species. Each other. Vrax tilted his head, not understanding. You hunt your own kind. We war against our own kind, Russell explained. For thousands of years, humans have fought humans. We've had to become good at war just to survive ourselves. This concept was completely foreign to Vrax. Viridians competed for status, but they never killed each other. They had no natural predators on their homeworld. They had never needed to develop the skills that came from fighting an equal opponent. As the fourth day of the hunt began, Peterson lay on the ground outside the cave, appearing badly wounded and helpless. His chest wound was real, but not as severe as he made it seem. The blood on his uniform was mostly from the dead Viridian hunter. Russell is still alive, Washington whispered from her new hiding spot. I can see movement in the cave. Martinez checked his last remaining weapon, a heavy pistol. We need to draw Vrax out. He's too dangerous in that enclosed space. Peterson nodded slightly, still playing the part of the dying man. New plan. We don't run anymore. We hunt him. This was a complete reversal of what the Viridians expected. In every previous hunt across hundreds of worlds, prey species had become more desperate to escape as the hunt progressed. They never turned to pursue the hunters. Inside the cave, Vrax continued questioning Russell. The human's answers disturbed the Viridian deeply. You're saying humans train for war from childhood? Vrax asked. Russell nodded. Not all of us, not anymore. But as a species, we've been fighting each other for so long that it's part of who we are. We study battles that happened thousands of years ago. We create weapons specifically designed to kill other humans. Vrax struggled to understand. But why hunt your own kind? Resources, territory, beliefs, power, Russell said. Sometimes just because we're different from each other. The Viridian shook his head. In his society, such behavior would be unthinkable. His species had evolved as the perfect predators, never needing to fight each other when there was always easier prey available. Your weakness forced you to become strong in other ways, Vrax said finally, beginning to understand. Outside, Washington had quietly made her way around to the back of the cave system. Peterson had studied the geological surveys and discovered there was another entrance, smaller and hidden by vegetation. Martinez moved closer to the main cave entrance, making just enough noise to draw attention. When Vrax looked out, he saw Peterson lying wounded and Martinez approaching from the side. The Viridian smiled. At least he could kill two of the humans before retreating. He moved toward the cave entrance, dragging Russell with him as a shield. What Vrax didn't know was that Washington had already entered through the back entrance. She moved silently through the dark tunnels, using the night vision goggles from her sniper kit. Come out, human, Vrax called to Martinez. Face me properly. Your friend is already dying. Martinez stepped into view, his pistol raised. Let Russell go, and we can end this now. Vrax laughed, a harsh sound like stones grinding together. The hunt ends when I say it ends, and it ends with your deaths. The Viridian raised his energy weapon, aiming at Martinez. In that moment, several things happened at once. Peterson, supposedly too wounded to move, rolled suddenly and fired his backup pistol at Vrax's legs. The shots hit but didn't penetrate the thick scales. Russell, seeing his chance, drove his elbow hard into Vrax's side where the scales were thinner, causing the alien to loosen his grip slightly. And from behind, Washington emerged from the cave tunnel and pressed her knife against the back of Vrax's neck, right at the spot where Russell had noticed the scales didn't cover. Drop the weapon, she said calmly, or I'll see what color your blood is. For the first time in his life, Vrax felt true fear. He was surrounded by prey that had somehow become predators. He slowly lowered his weapon. In the command ship, Kazak watched this unprecedented scene unfold through Vrax's body camera. Never in recorded Viridian history had a hunting party been defeated, let alone its leader captured. Prepare my shuttle, Kazak ordered suddenly. I'm going down there. His officers looked shocked. Grand Hunter, that would break all protocols. The hunt. The hunt is already unlike any we have conducted before. Kazakh interrupted. These humans have proven themselves to be something new. I must see them for myself. As Vrax stood surrounded by the humans he had come to hunt, he realized a profound truth. The Viridians had become the greatest hunters in the galaxy by being born physically superior. But these humans had become deadly precisely because they were not born superior. They had to work, plan, cooperate, and think in ways Viridians never needed to. For the first time, the hunters had become the hunted. The Viridian shuttle landed in the clearing near the cave with a soft hiss. Peterson and his team stood together, weapons ready, with Thrax still their prisoner. They had bound the aliens' hands with cables stripped from their equipment. The shuttle door opened slowly. Out stepped the largest Viridian the humans had ever seen. Grand Hunter Kazakh stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scales a deeper red than the others, marked with scars from countless hunts. Around his neck hung trophies from 100 different species. I am Kazakh, he announced in a voice like distant thunder, Grand Hunter of the Viridian Empire. Peterson stepped forward. Despite his injuries, he stood tall. John Peterson, Earth Defense Force. Kazakh looked at Vrax, then at the bodies of the other hunters scattered through the jungle. You have killed my best hunters and captured the leader of my hunting party. No species has ever done this before. Peterson nodded. We did what we had to do to survive. You did more than survive, Kazakh said. You hunted the hunters. You turned our game against us. The humans tensed, expecting Kazakh to attack. This was surely the final battle, human leader against Viridian leader. Instead, Kazakh did something shocking. He sat down on a fallen log and gestured for Peterson to join him. I wish to understand, the Grand Hunter said. Peterson hesitated, then sat across from the massive alien. What do you want to know? Your species is physically weaker than mine in every way, Kazakh said. Yet you defeated my best hunters. How? Peterson thought for a moment. We evolved differently than you. On our world, we weren't the strongest or fastest. We had to become smart, work together, make tools. We had to outsmart predators because we couldn't outfight them. And you fought each other, Kazakh added, having heard this from Vrax's reports. Yes, Peterson admitted. Humans have been at war with other humans for most of our history. It's not something we're proud of, but it forced us to become better fighters, better strategists. Dr. Crawford, listening from orbit, activated her translation device and sent it down to Peterson through a small drone. The device allowed for clearer communication between human and Viridian. Our histories are very different, Kazakh said through the translator. We Viridians evolved as the perfect predators on our world. We never needed to change or adapt. We never fought ourselves because there was always easier prey. That's why we surprised you, Washington said. We don't think like prey because we've been predators too, in our own way. Kazakh stood suddenly. All the humans raised their weapons, but the Grand Hunter simply walked over to Vrax and freed him from his bonds. The hunt is over, Kazakh announced. 5 days have not passed, but I declare it complete. Who won? Martins asked cautiously. Kazakh made a sound that might have been a laugh. In 10,000 years of hunting across the galaxy, no prey species has ever killed a Viridian hunter, let alone an entire hunting party. You have shown yourselves to be not prey, but equals. Peterson lowered his weapon. What happens now? Now we face a choice, Kazakh said. We can continue as we always have, conquering and hunting. But against your kind, that would lead to a long and costly war. Even if we won through numbers, we would lose many. Or, Peterson prompted, or we can learn from you, Kazakh said. Something no Viridian has ever said to another species. You hunt differently than we do, but effectively. Perhaps there is value in your methods. A week later, Admiral Rogers stood in Earth's orbital station as a formal communication arrived from the Viridian Empire. She had expected demands, threats, or at best, a temporary truce. Instead, the message requested something unprecedented, a cultural exchange. The Viridians wished to learn about human military training, tactics, and cooperative strategies. In return, they offered knowledge of the galaxy and advanced technology. The final line of the message read, "The supreme hunters of the galaxy recognize humanity not as prey, but as fellow hunters worthy of respect." On the Viridian training world, a young cadet awkwardly held a human-designed rifle. His claws were not made for such tools, but he was trying to learn. "Keep your stance wide," instructed Greg Martinez, who had volunteered for the exchange program. "Aim with your eyes, not with your claws." The cadet hissed in frustration but tried again. Around him, other young Viridians watched with interest. They had grown up hearing stories of glorious hunts against helpless prey. Now they were learning something new: how to fight like humans. Kazakh watched from a distance, knowing that his empire would never be the same. The supreme hunters of the galaxy had met their match, and in doing so, had found a new path forward.